Khamzat Chimaev taking on Robert the Reaper Whittaker. I think Khamzat Chimaev is just special. If he's able to get his hands on you and drag you down to the ground, I think he's able to impose his will down and potentially get that finish.
This one, Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev in Saudi Arabia, that one is gonna be f***ing wild. That's a wild one. That is a wild fight.
As the hype around UFC 308 builds, Robert Whittaker has sent a stern warning to Khamzat Chimaev, promising an all-out war in their upcoming clash.
3 months ago in Saudi Arabia, and I don't expect it to affect me too much in this one. You know, like, one thing is I've never tried to play to the crowd, and I think that's what they see, right? They see real. I'm in there to do a job. I'm in there to try and put him away. To bury Chimaev.
Robert Whittaker has made his intentions clear ahead of his highly anticipated clash with Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 308, stating that he plans to take Chimaev's head off during their 5-round showdown. Robert Whittaker issued another stern warning to Khamzat Chimaev, making it clear that the moment Chimaev entered the octagon, he would be entering Whittaker's territory. Whittaker emphasized that once the fight begins, Chimaev will be in deep waters, exactly where Whittaker wants him. Whittaker said, "As soon as he steps inside that octagon with me, he's in deep waters. Like, he's already in the waters that I want him to be in." Meanwhile, Joe Rogan highlighted the significance of the fight between Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev, highlighting it as a true test for Chimaev. Rogan pointed out that Whittaker is not only a former champion, but also a large, solid middleweight, making him a legitimate challenge. Both fighters originally began their careers at welterweight, but Rogan noted that the weight cut was too tough for them, and now they are true middleweights at 185 pounds.
Bro, Whittaker versus Khamzat is legit. That's a real fight. That's a real fight for Khamzat, because Whittaker's a big dude. He's a big, solid, beefy 185, former champion. You know, both guys started at 170, but they were cut. It was too hard to make the 170. That's a real 185er, as opposed to, like, you know, they gave him Kamaru Usman.
Joe Rogan continued to emphasize the significance of the fight, pointing out how well prepared Robert Whittaker will be for this matchup. Rogan stressed that Whittaker is a top-tier fighter, having had ample time to get ready for this challenge. Rogan expressed his excitement for the fight, recognizing it as a well-matched and highly competitive bout between two elite fighters. He added, "This is a big one. This is Robert Whittaker with plenty of time to prepare. The guy who is just as legit as they get. Just beat Paulo Costa, you know? That's a good fight. I like that." Robert Whittaker's training camp ahead of UFC 308 has been nothing short of intense, as he prepares for his high-stakes fight against Khamzat Chimaev. Whittaker has focused on perfecting his striking and mental toughness, sparring with some of the best fighters to ensure he's at his peak. Robert Whittaker emphasized how each training camp pushes him to improve in all areas of his game, including striking, wrestling, and kickboxing. He highlighted the importance of sparring with high-level fighters like Jai Opetaia as a way to sharpen his reflexes and refine his skills. Whittaker believes that these intense sparring sessions are key to enhancing his ability to react and execute in the octagon, allowing him to continuously elevate his performance.
Every camp, I try to better my striking. I try to better my wrestling, better my kickboxing, and being able to spar with guys like this to hone my eyes and reflexes, it's just like, it's the best thing. And
one key session involved sparring with Jai Opetaia, Australia's IBF cruiserweight champion, who gave Whittaker a taste of high-level boxing power. Whittaker described Opetaia's left hand as hitting like a shotgun to the head, a testament to the intensity of their training. Robert Whittaker reinforced his confidence in his stand-up abilities ahead of his fight against Khamzat Chimaev, believing he held the upper hand in striking. He suggested that if Chimaev focuses too much on trying to take him down, it will only backfire and tire him out. Whittaker emphasized that he's been putting in significant time wrestling behind the scenes, ensuring that his ground game is ready if Chimaev pushes for takedowns.
I believe I have the advantage in the stand-up world, and if he's going to really try and force that story of taking me down, he'll only get more tired for it. You can believe that every time you don't see me in a ring or on, with gloves and mitts on, like, I'm on the mats wrestling, and
yeah, I'm putting in that work.
Whittaker has devoted 2 separate camps to preparing for Chimaev, given their fight was rescheduled, making him feel more prepared than ever. His training has also included sessions with Australian kickboxing champion Charlie Bubb, sharpening his skills against a variety of styles. These high-level sparring sessions, combined with his focus on mental fortitude, have made Whittaker confident that he can push Chimaev into deep waters and hand him his first UFC defeat. Whittaker, currently ranked number 3 in the middleweight division, will face the undefeated Chimaev in the co-main event on October 26th at the Etihad Arena in the UAE. The Reaper is coming off an impressive victory where he knocked out Russia's Ikram Aliskerov in less than 2 minutes during their headline fight at UFC Saudi Arabia in June 2024. Alex Volkanovski expressed his surprise at Robert Whittaker being labeled the underdog in his upcoming fight against Khamzat Chimaev. Volkanovski acknowledged Chimaev's aggressive fighting style, noting that he's a highly dangerous and relentless opponent, especially in the early stages of a fight. However, despite Chimaev's impressive skill set, Volkanovski believes that Whittaker will be well prepared for the challenge and should not be underestimated.
I mean, Rob Whittaker, I think I'm surprised he's an underdog. I really am. Again, Khamzat is a very good fighter. You know, I mean, you know that he can bring it and he will bring it, especially early. He's going to bring it, and that's just, he's got one speed and that's full on, and he's very dangerous. But I think Rob's going to be well prepared for that.
Alex Volkanovski recognized that the early rounds, especially the first one, would be tough due to Khamzat Chimaev's aggressive start, but he was confident that Whittaker's experience and preparation would allow him to handle the pressure and capitalize on later opportunities in the fight. He said, "I think it goes to later rounds where I think Rob can take advantage of it. But I mean, it is going to be a tough first round. 100%, and anyone that faces Khamzat knows that." Volkanovski emphasized that Whittaker is extremely well prepared for tough opponents, citing his experience against dangerous fighters like Yoel Romero. Volkanovski noted that when Whittaker is fully prepared, he's incredibly difficult to stop, especially against fighters with strong wrestling backgrounds. He added, "I guarantee you Rob is well prepared and there won't be any surprises for him. We've seen that against a guy like Romero, who's very dangerous, a good wrestler. When you're well prepared, Rob Whittaker is very hard to stop." Many professional fighters and analysts are siding with Robert Whittaker ahead of his fight with Khamzat Chimaev, highlighting his elite takedown defense and experience against top-level wrestlers like Yoel Romero. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, a highly respected former 2-time UFC welterweight fighter known for his exceptional striking and karate-based style, pointed out that Whittaker has some of the best takedown defense in the middleweight division, referencing Whittaker's ability to go 10 rounds with Yoel Romero, a powerful wrestler, and keep the fight standing.
Stop.
I think that's a very tough fight for Khamzat. I mean, Robert Whittaker's got some of the best takedown defense in the 185 division. I mean, when you go 10 rounds with Yoel Romero and keep the fight standing, oh my gosh, I mean, that's a feat in its own. But I do believe that I think it's a tough fight for Khamzat. If the fight stays standing, I think Robert Whittaker's got it.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson acknowledged that Khamzat Chimaev is physically strong and capable of taking Robert Whittaker down and holding him there, but he emphasized that Chimaev will likely need to expend a significant amount of energy to maintain that control. Wonderboy believes that although Chimaev is capable of executing this game plan, the effort required could potentially weaken him. Wonderboy added, "Khamzat's going to have to keep him down and hold him down in order to win. Now, Khamzat is a very strong guy. I think he's capable of doing that, but I think he's going to spend a lot of energy trying to do so." In the final part of his breakdown, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson referred to Khamzat Chimaev's fight with Gilbert Burns, pointing out that Chimaev struggled to take Burns down and hold him there. That fight, according to Wonderboy, was where Chimaev started to look more human compared to his previous bouts where he seemed invincible. Thompson suggested that this performance made Chimaev appear mortal for the first time, indicating that Robert Whittaker might have a legitimate chance at defeating him if he can capitalize on similar weaknesses.
You go back and watch the fight with Gilbert Burns. He had a very hard time taking down and holding Gilbert Burns down. And that was when Gilbert Burns kind of made Khamzat look mortal. You know, at that time, before that fight, he was like looking just unbelievable and unbeatable everywhere. But that was a fight that made him look mortal. I think Robert Whittaker, I think he's got a shot at beating Khamzat.
Robert Whittaker reflected on the magnitude of his upcoming fight against Khamzat Chimaev, acknowledging that it presents one of the biggest challenges of his career. He emphasized the gravity of the fight, calling it a significant test due to the uncertainty surrounding Chimaev's potential at this level. Whittaker noted that he has faced the best fighters in the sport, having both won and lost difficult battles. Whittaker said, "I've fought the best of the best. I think it's the most pressing test because it's unwritten. I think there's a lot of gravity to this fight because it's the unknown, right? Like as of right now, but I've won a lot of hard fights and I've lost a lot of hard fights. I've been tested, man." This fight has been a long time coming, as Whittaker was originally set to face Chimaev on June 22nd. However, UFC President Dana White confirmed that Chimaev had to withdraw due to being violently ill. When Chimaev steps back into the octagon at UFC 308, it will be his first UFC fight in over a year, making his return all the more intriguing as both fighters aim to make a statement in the middleweight division. Khamzat Chimaev remains undefeated in the UFC, with his most recent win coming via a convincing majority decision over former middleweight champion Kamaru Usman. As he prepares to face Robert Whittaker at UFC 308, the stakes are higher than ever. Torres Finney expressed his admiration for Khamzat Chimaev, calling him his favorite fighter even now that Finney himself is in the UFC. He mentioned how much he enjoys watching Chimaev's fights and even uses Chimaev's highlights during his own fight week as inspiration. Finney's admiration runs so deep that he finds it difficult to pick against Chimaev, even when analyzing potential matchups.
So my favorite fighter going into the, now I'm in the UFC now, but he was my favorite fighter in the UFC, which is Khamzat Chimaev.
Okay.
I love watching him, man. I watch some of his highlights on Fight Week for myself. I love watching him fight. So, yeah.
Torres Finney further elaborated on the concerns many have about Khamzat Chimaev's cardio. He acknowledged that people often question whether Chimaev can maintain his pace because of his explosive, sprint-like fighting style, where he exerts a lot of energy early on. Finney raised the point that the real challenge will be for a fighter like Robert Whittaker to survive those first intense rounds.
I will say, I know a lot of people keep bringing up cardio for a guy like Chimaev because he is a heavy sprinter. He sprints hard. The problem is, can a guy like Whittaker survive that first?
Torres Finney emphasized that while people often compare Khamzat Chimaev to fighters like Yoel Romero, there are key differences. He explained that Romero, while explosive and powerful with great wrestling, doesn't bring the same constant pressure and relentless pace that Chimaev does. Chimaev's ability to chain wrestle, apply constant forward pressure, and maintain positional control makes him uniquely dangerous.
Because people like to compare like Yoel Romero and all these guys, but this is a Yoel Romero who wasn't. Yoel Romero was powerful, explosive, great wrestler, but Yoel Romero doesn't have that type of activity. Chimaev has a lot of pressure. He stays forward. He doesn't back up. So because of that constant pressure and that constant chain wrestling and that constant positional control once he get on top, man, when I saw what he did to Usman, I know Usman took it on short notice. Don't get me wrong. Usman took it on short notice. Yes. But still, it's the wrestling part. It's the being able to implement your game plan inside.
Torres Finney began by discussing how crucial the first two rounds will be for Robert Whittaker in his fight against Khamzat Chimaev. He emphasized that if Whittaker can survive past the second round, the fight could become much more unpredictable. Finney acknowledged that once the fight enters deeper waters, the dynamics may shift, and it would be anyone's game. He said, if Whittaker gets past round 2, it's a toss-up then. That's when I'm like, it's a different fight. But I feel like those first 2 rounds are crucial. Kaio was commenting on Robert Whittaker's courage and game plan for the fight against Khamzat Chimaev, suggesting that Whittaker might believe Chimaev would tire out during the fight. Kaio acknowledged Whittaker's strategic thinking, but he also emphasized that the effectiveness of Whittaker's preparation will depend on how well his training partners can mimic Chimaev's unique style, particularly his grappling. He said, definitely a lot of courage from Whittaker, but I think if he does that, I think he has something in his mind for this fight. You know, I think he thinks that Khamzat is going to get tired or something like that. Kaio focused on how Whittaker's ability to deal with Chimaev's grappling will play a key role. He pointed out that if Whittaker's training partners could replicate Chimaev's wrestling and grappling style during camp, Whittaker might not feel as overwhelmed during the actual fight. However, Kaio ultimately predicted that Chimaev would dominate the fight on the ground due to his superior wrestling.
It's one of those fights I can't wait for it to come, and to know that it's a week away is it's huge. But for myself, I think I got Khamzat taking him down. I don't know. I have him by submission. We've seen Whittaker get taken down by Duplessis with like a headlock, and Khamzat's wrestling is so good. To see how dominant he has been with wrestling, I think he's going to go in there and do the same exact thing.
In an exclusive interview with TalkSport.com, Whittaker offered a chilling prediction for Chimaev, known as Boars, which translates to wolf in his native Chechen. When asked how he plans to stop Chimaev, Whittaker was clear in his intent. "In any way possible," he said. "I've left no stone unturned, and I've trained my heart out for this. I've got 25 minutes with him, and I'm looking to take his head off for the entire 25 minutes. But I've prepared for every possible scenario in this fight." Chimaev, ranked number 12 in the middleweight division, is feared for his world-class wrestling and his ability to dominate opponents on the ground. Since turning professional in 2018, he has secured 8 first-round finishes, building a reputation as a relentless force inside the octagon. When Robert Whittaker was asked to compare Khamzat Chimaev and Kamaru Usman, he expressed that it was difficult to make a direct comparison between the two, given that they are from different times in his career. However, he acknowledged that Chimaev presents the most immediate and dangerous challenge because he is the opponent standing in front of him right now. Whittaker also highlighted Chimaev's wrestling, describing it as very, very good, which makes him a formidable threat in the octagon. Whittaker said, "I don't think he'd be the best, but I definitely think he's the most dangerous because he's in front of me right now. I think it's very hard to compare the two because it's just different times, but Chimaev's wrestling is very, very good." Khamzat Chimaev's fighting style is built on his exceptional wrestling and aggressive striking. Known for his relentless pressure, Chimaev uses his wrestling to dominate opponents with chain takedowns and superb positional control on the ground. His ability to keep opponents on the defensive with constant takedown threats opens up opportunities for striking. In striking exchanges, Chimaev leverages his long reach and powerful hands, often catching opponents off guard with his aggressive forward movement. What makes him particularly dangerous is how seamlessly he transitions between wrestling and striking, creating a balanced and unpredictable attack. His ability to overwhelm fighters both standing and on the ground has made him one of the most feared competitors in the UFC today. Belal Muhammad predicted that Chimaev's dominant wrestling would be the deciding factor. Muhammad expressed confidence that Chimaev would be able to take Whittaker down and potentially win by submission. He referenced Whittaker's previous vulnerabilities in grappling situations, mentioning how Whittaker was taken down by Dricus du Plessis. Muhammad emphasized Chimaev's elite wrestling abilities and believed that Chimaev would apply the same dominance against Whittaker as he has with other opponents. Belal Muhammad first pointed out that Robert Whittaker hasn't faced many opponents who were able to consistently take him down and control him on the ground. He noted that aside from Dricus du Plessis, who was able to do this in their recent fight, Whittaker hasn't encountered many fighters whose primary strategy is wrestling. Muhammad said, "Whittaker really hasn't fought somebody that took him down and held him down except for du Plessis, and that was a more recent fight. So now he has a guy whose full game plan is coming in there, shooting on you and taking you down." With the middleweight title currently held by Dricus du Plessis, who dethroned Sean Strickland at UFC 297 in January, the division remains highly competitive. UFC President Dana White has already confirmed that du Plessis and Strickland will meet again in a rematch for the belt. Whittaker ended by stating that he was without a doubt in line for a title shot against the winner of that rematch if he could defeat Chimaev on October 26th. Belal highlighted the difference between Chimaev's wrestling threat and that of Whittaker's past opponents. He mentioned that Derek Brunson was the last fighter who tried to wrestle Whittaker for most of their fight, but noted that Chimaev brings additional threats. According to Muhammad, Chimaev has better submission skills and cardio, making him a more dangerous fighter once he gets Whittaker on the ground. He added, "I think the last guy he fought that was trying to just wrestle him for the most part was Brunson, but I think Khamzat has more submission threats when he takes him down and better cardio." As the fight between Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev approaches, fans are eager to see how Whittaker's experience matches up against Chimaev's relentless wrestling. Can Whittaker's preparation withstand Chimaev's ground game, or will Chimaev dominate on the mat? Who do you think will come out victorious? Be sure to subscribe for more fight breakdowns and let us know your thoughts in the comments.